Welcome to Moments with Marianne. I'm so delighted we're spending this time here today. We have a very empowering show coming right up with special guest LouAnne Ludwig, and she's here today to share with us her new book, A Journey Within. Now, LouAnne has spent several years perfecting her empathic gifts and implementing the tools that are written about in her book. She gives new meaning to messages she puts forth by having experienced their learning in such a profound and personal way. So let's welcome to the show LouAnne Ludwig.
Thank you so much. It's such a pleasure to be with you, Marianne.
Oh, what a pleasure it is to have you here. My goodness, your book is quite inspirational. I was really impressed with it, and I'm so glad we're going to have this discussion.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, and so why don't you share with our listeners that might be new to you and your work, what is the inspiration behind your book and the work that you do?
Well, my journey, my mission, I imagine, in this life is to help others to find their highest way of living in a more peaceful manner, help them to learn to connect with the divine within themselves.
Well, and so how did you even get started down that path? What inspired you to follow that?
It's been an evolution, really, of a lifetime. I've been quite empathic my whole life, but not knowing it until the later years. I was always very intuitive, but I had a spiritual experience in 2007 that really opened me up. I mean, I had read hundreds of books about metaphysical things and always had such a love of that. But that spiritual experience really opened me up, and I began to channel ascended masters, and just all kinds of wonderful things started happening around me that just put me in a high connection with the universe. And I started writing stories and writings, and they were to help me progress in my knowing of tools to eventually help others with. At the time, it was just building my own base. And later I went through and pulled out the stories that all seemed to go together, and I was led to put them in a certain order and polish them around into a full-on book. But in the meantime, before that ever happened, each chapter was actually set for me to learn various metaphysical tools to help smooth my life and bring me into a more peaceful way of living.
Well, I really applaud you, because a lot of times when people, we're out there, we're living our lives, we're making a living, doing normal kind of things, and then we have this whole spiritual side to us. And I know you came from a very fast-paced, high-stress real estate position. You were an agent, and to go for that and to bring in the spiritual part, did it seem like you were kind of walking on both sides of the fence at some times?
It's always been, I actually built my business utilizing metaphysical principles that I had learned through the years, that I would serve others, that everything was always in the highest good of all concerned, things like that. I would set various intentions, but I wasn't really super good at it until later on. If I walked back into that business now, it would just be so much easier for me. But even at the time, it was a slow evolution for me, because if I would run into struggles, I would get quiet with myself and find ways to pattern my thoughts to smooth the way. So, I guess I've always done this. It just was slower, and now it's just all the time. It's faster pace in a simplified manner. Where before I was just fast-paced, I was in a reactive mode a lot of times, and now I live in a more purpose-filled manner.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, because I think today people are feeling more than ever that purpose is something that they're craving to have in their lives and how important that is. Why do you think that is? From your experience in, just through writing this book, I'm sure it kind of helped hone that for you as well.
I really think that the vibration of the planet is changing, and we are all becoming more and more open to these sorts of things. 20 years ago, people meditating in the middle of their workday was unheard of, and now there are major companies that actually set aside time and room space for meditation, things like that. We're just in a changing way. The children who are coming into the world now are much more open to this sort of thing really from the get-go. They hold on to it longer than we did. We came in open also, I believe, but, we shut down much more quickly into a human stance and the separation that came along with that. The kids today, I think, are staying open longer because we're all on an evolutionary pattern that we're in a changing world, and that's the direction that we're heading in.
Well, and thank goodness we're having these kind of changes now, I think, because with, people are wanting to incorporate, spirituality as a major part in their lives, and it's okay to be someone who's a business person and be spiritual and have all these, where before you kind of had to hide in the closet your spiritualism in some ways, because it might not be readily accessible by people you work with. But it seems that a lot of the principles of spirituality, as you were talking before, in regards to how we'd want to treat others and the experiences that we want to have, are things that are just kind of universal.
That's so true. That's so true. But the whole thing about living a business life and being in the closet, that describes me to a T. I really did, when I think about it from that standpoint, live on two sides of the fence in that way. And then when I really started to sprout my wings with my empathic gifts, wow, I was really in the closet for a while with that, because, allowing, I don't know what term I want to say, normal people, the norm of the world, which is less tuned to the spiritual side, to see how much I walk on the spiritual side was scary to me because I was afraid of judgment and all that. I really had to overcome a lot of resistance and fear, that in order to stand in the shoes I now stand in.
Well, I applaud you because it takes a lot. I mean, I've done it personally. I know what you're talking about. It is a tough struggle because you do have resistance and pushback. It's not that I'm out preaching anything to anybody, but, I live my life a certain way and I do things that maybe a little bit different than the norm. So I get what you're saying. And, I thought your book really helped people cultivate like a deeper connection with themselves and with the universe, God. How is that the intention that you had for the book, is to help people through that process so they can have that deep connection?
That is the crux of where that book leads us to. And but it will lead different people to different places. It all depends on the person, and that's really part of the magic of this book. If someone is not spiritual thinking or open to universal connection or connection to God, or allergic to the word God, even as I was years back, it's still going to benefit them. There's so many tools in this book that they'll find on a secular level that will just be of such great benefit. Then if they want to bring it more and become more and more open to connecting to divine, it's not preachy in any way. The book itself is put in a fable form. the form of a fable of a young boy who is stranded on a desert island, and his only friend there is a monkey, and then there's this mentor figure that is like a godlike figure who comes and bestows wisdom upon him. And each chapter shows a different peeling of the onion of more wisdom. So even if you open one chapter and learn one thing out of it and actually integrate it into your life, it can change things for you. And then the more of those tools that you integrate, you will find amazing changes in your life. And the reason the book was put forth this way, it's very, very simplified, because even though I generally come from a more scholastic way of thinking, these stories are so simple, your mind doesn't get caught up in a lot of thought and analyzing. It just stays with the simplicity of the story. And so that story can stay with you longer in the way that if something comes about in your day that you say, gosh, you know what, I need to set an intention. I'm going into this meeting and I'm feeling a little anxiety over it. I need to set an intention. I can't remember what I was supposed to do. You know, if you pull the book out, then you can refer to one of the chapters on intention, and it will just refresh it, boom, in your mind. And that little simple story helps that idea stay with you. That's the whole idea.
Well, and you know, it's interesting. I found that your book, you can pretty much open any chapter, and it will just help you on your path wherever you're at on a specific day. So, you know, if you're looking for something that's, you know, going to help give you a little bit more, you know, make you a little bit more maybe aware, or draw attention to your awareness a little bit more, or maybe your gratitude, it really offered quite a bit.
That's the truth. That book can be used in so many ways. I know so many friends of mine who will, they'll do what's called a lucky dip, and they'll use my book is a good example of one that's great for a lucky dip. You just set an intention that it's going to open to just the right page that you need, and then you open it, and boom, there is, you know, just the story for you for that day. And each story is very short and concise and gives a nice little morning reading to set you for the day, set the tone.
What are some of the fears that you see people are pushing up against when they're working on this path?
I think the world, I think the world is bringing forward, actually our collective consciousness thought is bringing forward for us things throughout the day, and just we're getting hit by a barrage of things that stir up our fears and our resistances and, well, really our fears. And if we look at something that's under your skin, let's say you have a disagreement with a coworker, and what you do is flip to the chapter on forgiveness. Excuse me one moment. Forgive me for that.
Well, you know, we've got some high energy moving here, so I'm not surprised. My voice is doing the same thing. So I get it.
Very good. Anyway, you flip to the chapter on forgiveness. There's a wonderful chapter in there that, you know, if something's under your skin from an interaction that you've had with someone, there's ways to look at that. And, you know, we don't really have a lot of time to go into it now, but if you were to get quiet and really look at whatever that is and say, gosh, it really bothers me when such and such says whatever. Well, the whole thing is that person is pushing your buttons. If you didn't have those buttons, whatever they're saying would float right on by you. But the fact that they're pushing those buttons, you can be grateful for now to have this interaction with this resistance in order to address it within yourself, reframe it, and release it, and then allow yourself to sit quietly and let the love from the universe pour into you to fill that void and fill you back up with the love that we all have within ourselves always. And this helps to fill those holes that we walk around with that are filled in many cases with anger and resistance and that sort of, you know, resistance to life.
Yeah, that whole thing. Well, it's interesting too. A lot of times people will feel, I don't know if I can. Maybe they're going through depression or they've had something happen or whatever the case is. But for sometimes I hear people say that it's tough for them to get to a place where they feel joy. That's kind of a leap for them. Where I feel your book really gave people kind of, it's like taking baby steps to get there. It doesn't have to be a leap overnight. It's really kind of your journey. It's your walk.
That's so true. I mean, one little thing at a time. And with respect to what you brought up there, when you're in a really grumpy mood, that is a perfect time for a gratefulness rant. And that seems like the hardest time to do that. But if you step aside, put your hand on your heart is what I do to remind myself to get centered. Just take a few deep breaths and get calm. That's the number one thing. But then as you think of one little thing you're grateful for, and I'm grateful for my beautiful home, or I'm grateful for my husband, or, I'm grateful for the tree in front of me, and I'm grateful for the ground beneath my feet. Just one thing you can think of, that will lead to the next. I mean, if you're really off on a tangent, you can certainly be grateful for the ground you stand on and the tree that you see through the window, or if you're outside, or the breeze, or a bird that flies by. And one thing leads to another, to another, to another. And pretty soon, as you start to see more things in front of you, just take what you see right in front of you. I'm grateful for this lamp on the corner of my desk that's beautiful and kind of fills me with a bit of charm feeling. And I'm grateful for the photo picture on the wall of my children when they were younger. And I'm grateful for them and how they've blossomed into such beautiful, warm, loving, kind adults. So on and so forth. One thing leads to the next, and to the next, and to the next. And you know what, Marianne, pretty soon you find yourself feeling good. You're grateful for what you have, and your mind has shifted from whatever it is that's bothering you to a much higher plane of your gratefulness.
Well, and I love how you say we can just pick little things, because a lot of times, people go, I've got nothing to be grateful for. There's nothing out there. But you can choose, like you're grateful for having a roof over your head, or food on the table, or gas in the car, or a job, or whatever the thing is. You can be grateful for the things that a lot of people may be struggling to have.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We can be grateful for my beautiful weather here, as opposed to being in, not as, you don't want to think of as opposed to, but there are people right now, yourself included, struggling with, effects of weather right now. And, I'm grateful on my very hot days that I happen to have air conditioning, or that I could take a walk and be in the shade and allow some breeze to hit my face.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We can go, like you said, to a remote way, just push it away from yourself to find something that you can be grateful for, and then let that allow you to build on that.
Yeah, at least there's always some place you can start from. Well, and you talked about this a little bit ago. We were chatting about forgiveness. And so in your book, you talk about forgiveness being a place where we can, use it to release and diffuse like drama and things that are happening around us. So how is that possible? Because I know that's another place where people will tend to get stuck going, gosh, I don't think I can do that.
Well, let's say, for instance, if I was having an argument with my husband, which thankfully very, very rarely happens, but let's say I did have an argument, actually almost never happens now. But I have an argument, and but I've got to get to the grocery store, let's say, for something or whatever, to a meeting. So I leave still disgruntled, and I'm in the car and I'm driving. I can do the shift by one thing that we just spoke of as that gratefulness to help me change. First, I do the breathing, then the gratefulness rant to help me change my stance, change my state regarding the whole issue. And then I want to take those things that are really bothering me and say, okay, you know, it is really bothering me that he said such and such, and that's really hanging on me tight here. So then get quiet with yourself for a moment and allow yourself, you know, I ask the divine, please show me this through your eyes. Universe, please show me this through your eyes. And then all of a sudden I'll think of something in my childhood that happened that maybe was a recurring thing, or maybe even one thing that happened that really still bothers me. And then as I look at that, and I look at, say, some way my mother used to be very critical of me, and I would say, you know what, now I'm going to look at this through God's eyes and say, my mother was really, she had her hands full. Oh, for goodness sake, she had 5 of us. How did she ever do that? And my dad was always off working, and it was all on her. And wow, she was on overload. Wow, was she ever on overload? Okay, I can see how little things that I did, she wanted to gain her power by sort of tearing me down because she felt so powerless. And, you know, although I've been angry my whole life over this, at this point, I'm going to see it in a forgiving stance. And I'm going to forgive you for that, Mom, because you know what? I've done that before. Doggone it. I've gotten so upset over things, for instance, with my husband just now, where I said a few things that I was not proud of. And why in the world would I have done that? I know better than that. And now I'm seeing that I need to forgive myself for having stepped into the shoes of taking someone down a notch in order to help myself feel better. You know, when we're in those shoes where we can see that we need to forgive ourselves and go belly up on it. And now I say, I forgive you, Mom, for that. I love and forgive you, and I thank you for showing me this in this moment. I forgive myself for this. I forgive my husband for the interaction we just had and the things he said to me. I love and forgive him and thank him for bringing this to a head in this moment so that I could have this healing and this epiphany of what I need to forgive myself for. And now I forgive all of us, and I release us all from the agreement we made before ever coming into the earth plane in this time. And I release us all from that agreement. I no longer need it. We no longer need it. I'm letting it go. Let's let it go into the universe and allow the universe now to fill us with love as we picture the light of the universe shining on us and refilling us with love and affection and well-being through our every cell. And we breathe and accept this and release it. And now I feel more light as I walk away from this. And it's just a beautiful healing moment. There's so much more that can go into this, but that was a light interaction of it for everyone.
That was beautiful. You can feel just the weight of that being lifted. And it's easy to see how when we first start doing this practice, it might be a little bit difficult, but how you walked us through being able to find a place of forgiveness. You know, that common thread. It's like, gosh, you know, I've done these things before myself. You know, it makes it just a little bit more human, where we're not having people live up to high expectations that we can't even meet.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That is it to a T.
Mm-hmm. Well, and so when we have people that are walking through these different practices, what overall do you want the readers and our listeners to take away from your book?
I really want each person to take away whatever they need as they read the book. You said something earlier in this chat we're having that was really impacting to me because it really hit a resonance with me, and that is, you know, I never, ever want to preach to anybody. I never, ever want to tell somebody what to do or that they should do this or should do that. Seriously, I want to live my life and be an example, and that's it. And I want to put my book out there with, the intention that it will help others in whatever manner is best suited for them. And that's the crux of it.
Well, and so, LouAnne, let's say someone's having difficulty with, maybe they're needing a little bit of extra help with this. Do you offer sessions or abilities for people to work with you on a one-on-one basis?
Well, I do right now offer on my website, which is LouAnneLudwig.com. It's LouAnneLudwig.com. I offer dream analyzing, and I give soul insight readings. Right now, those are my offerings. Pretty soon I'm going to be making some different types of offerings on there, but for now that's what I'm offering because of time constraints for me. But it's done by email. If you have a dream, you can write that dream out. There's directions on the website. Submit that dream in, and I will tune into your higher self and give you the most beautiful, really soul insight reading, along with letting you know your personal symbols in your dream and what they were showing you, what this dream was showing you about something immediate that's going on in your life on an immediate level, and then it expands into more of a broader reading for you also. And the insight reading, the soul insight reading, can help you if you have questions or concerns or something that you're going through. Just give me a brief overview of it and some questions to give some direction to that reading. And I give you an email back with a beautiful reading in it that gives you soul insights and suggestions and some beautiful ways for you to be looking in new ways at what's going on for you. And then if you have further questions on either type of reading, you just email me back with those that you need more clarification. So there is some interaction going back and forth there, not a lot, but some, and then I answer you back at this point. Eventually I'll probably go forward to maybe telephone doing interactions, coaching, that sort of thing. I'm not real sure yet.
Well, it's interesting when we start down this path, and especially now that you have your new book out. I mean, I'm sure people are so excited about it and wanting to spend that one-on-one time with you. So I'm sure you do have quite a few people that have requests, for the different types of readings you do. And I'm so glad that you were able to take the time and just kind of spell out what each of those did, because, I had never heard of the second one that you mentioned, and I thought it was very interesting. It'd be something I would sign up for sure with, So it's good I think it's good to investigate and learn more about what our soul path is here.
Very true, very true. I have really insightful blogs you'll find on my website as well. But yeah, it's those soul insights. That reading is just really fun. In fact, I have more people requesting that than the dream one. I've always been fascinated by dreams, but it's funny. So many people can't remember their dreams, or they wake up and they don't realize they need to write it down right away because they're so fleeting, and then it's gone. So.
And then there it goes, but they have so much information. Well, LouAnne, why don't you say your website one more time for our listeners so that they can connect with you and be part of your community?
My website is LouAnneLudwig.com, LouAnneLudwig.com. There's a wealth of information on that. Just explore throughout it, and you'll enjoy it, I'm sure.
You have lots of great information there, and I've been enjoying your book, A Journey Within. LouAnne, thank you so much for taking the time to be on the show with us here today.
Marianne, it has been such a pleasure, really. You're a delight.
That is so kind of you to say, LouAnne. Thank you so much. It has been such a pleasure to spend this time with you, and of course to talk about your new book, A Journey Within. If you'd like to connect with LouAnne, you can at her website, LouAnneLudwig.com. She's got her book listed there and also all sorts of great resources. And of course, don't forget to connect with her. Well, we're at the end of our time today. I would like to thank everyone for tuning in. You've been listening to Moments with Marianne. And remember, make every moment count.
In a single moment, your life can change. Moments with Marianne is a transformative hour that covers an endless array of topics with the best of the best. Her guests are leaders in their fields, ranging from inspirational authors, top industry leaders, and business and spiritual entrepreneurs. Each guest is gifted and a true visionary, a recognized leader in her own work, and while teaching others to develop, refocus, and grow, Marianne will bring the best guest and sometimes a special surprise. Don't miss this. You never know just which moment will change your life forever. Moments with Marianne airs every Thursday, Friday, and Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Mountain Time. Make sure to tune in and visit momentswithmarianne.com for more information.